I was at my desk sorting through quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. The notification banner read Family Group Chat, and my mom's message appeared in bold letters. No one's coming to your party. Grow up. I read it once, then again, my throat tightening as my colleague walked past. The office suddenly felt too small, too bright. I typed back a single word, understood. Then I opened my banking app with shaking hands and scrolled to the automatic payment section. $2,500. Monthly. For 3 years. I pressed cancel, confirmed the action, and set my phone face down on my desk. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed as I stared at my computer screen, trying to focus on the spreadsheet filled with numbers that suddenly meant nothing. My 30th birthday. 3 decades on this planet, and this was how my mother chose to acknowledge it. I leaned back in my chair and let my mind drift to how I'd ended up here, in this specific moment of humiliation and rage. I'd worked my way through college, taking double shifts at a warehouse while maintaining a 3.7 grade average. Every semester, I'd apply for scholarships, grants, anything to avoid drowning in debt. My younger brother Tyler got a free ride. Mom and Dad paid his tuition, bought his books, sent him spending money. When I asked why the difference, Dad said I was more capable, and Tyler needed extra support. I learned early that being capable meant being alone. After graduation, I landed a job as a financial analyst. The pay was decent, and I was good at it. Numbers made sense to me in ways people never did. I saved aggressively, dreaming of owning my own place. But 6 months into my job, Dad called. They were behind on rent. Could I help? Just this once. That was 7 years ago. The just this once became every month. $2,500, like clockwork, transferred from my account to theirs. Tyler spent those same years finding himself. He tried music, then writing, then pottery, and finally settled on photography. Each new passion required equipment, classes, studio space. Mom and Dad funded it all, which really meant I funded it all. Because the money I sent covered their rent, their utilities, their groceries. Everything else went to Tyler's dreams. The party was supposed to happen tonight at 7. I'd moved into my first apartment 3 months ago, a 1-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. It took me 7 years to save enough for the down payment. 7 years of living with roommates, eating rice and beans, skipping vacations. The apartment was small, only 650 square feet, but it was mine. Every nail hole in the wall, every scuff on the hardwood floor, every cabinet in the tiny kitchen belonged to me. I'd invited 15 people. My parents, Tyler, my Aunt Linda, my Uncle Marcus, 3 cousins, and a handful of friends. Everyone confirmed last week. Mom even said she'd bring her famous apple pie, the one she used to make for special occasions when I was young. I hired a caterer, spent $800 on food from a local Italian place. I bought decorations, strung up lights, ordered a cake from Bernard's Bakery, the same place Mom always took us as kids. The cake cost $90. Chocolate with buttercream frosting, Happy 30th Parker written in blue icing. Now, sitting at my desk with my phone still face down, I realized I'd spent nearly $1,500 on a party for people who weren't coming. People who couldn't even be bothered to tell me directly. My mother had announced it in a group chat like she was canceling a casual lunch. I finished my work on autopilot, barely registering the conversations around me. At 5:30, I packed my briefcase and headed to the parking garage. My car, a reliable Honda I'd driven for 8 years, started on the first try. I pulled out onto the highway and drove west toward the suburbs where my parents lived. The sun hung low in the sky, painting everything orange and gold. It should have been beautiful, but all I felt was a cold determination settling into my bones. 40 minutes later, I pulled into their driveway. Dad's Buick sat there, the dark blue sedan I'd co-signed for 2 years ago when his credit score was too damaged to qualify a loan. I'd been making half the monthly payments ever since. I still had my key. I'd grown up in this house, spent 18 years sleeping in the bedroom upstairs. I walked in without knocking and found all 3 of them in the living room. Dad sat in his recliner, the one with the torn armrest he refused to replace. Mom was on the couch, and Tyler sprawled across the love seat with his phone in his hand. The television blared some crime drama I didn't recognize. Mom looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to something like annoyance. "Oh, Parker, we thought you'd understand. Tyler has a gallery showing tonight for his photography. It's important." I stood in the doorway between the hall and the living room, my keys still in my hand. "A gallery showing. At the Warehouse District Gallery," Tyler said without looking up from his phone. 7 to 10. It's kind of a big deal. "And everyone else?" I asked. "Aunt Linda? Uncle Marcus? The cousins?" Dad shifted in his chair. "We all decided it was more important to support Tyler. You understand, right? Birthdays come every year. This opportunity might not come again." Tyler finally looked at me, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "No hard feelings, man. Some things matter more than birthday cake." I felt something crack inside my chest, a sensation like ice breaking under pressure. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward my mother. I canceled the rent payment. It was scheduled to go through tomorrow. It's not going through anymore. Mom's face went from annoyed to confused to pale in the span of 3 seconds. "You're joking." "I'm not." She stood up, her voice rising. "Parker, you can't do that. We need that money. The rent is due in 5 days. You should have thought about that before you decided Tyler's art show was more important than your son's 30th birthday." Dad was on his feet now too, his face reddening. "You can't just cut us off like that. We're family. You have an obligation." "An obligation?" The word tasted bitter. "I've sent you $30,000 a year for 3 years. $90,000 total. And you can't even show up to my birthday party." Tyler laughed from the couch. "Come on, don't be dramatic. It's just a party." I looked at him, really looked at him. He was 26, still living at home, still depending on our parents, which meant depending on me. His hair was styled with some expensive product I'd probably paid for. His jeans were designer, probably $200. His camera bag sat by the door, the one that cost $5,000, purchased with a credit card I'd co-signed for. "Happy birthday to me," I said quietly, then turned and walked out. Behind me, Mom's voice turned shrill. "Parker! Parker! Get back here! You can't do this! We'll lose the apartment." I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away. My phone started ringing before I made it to the end of their street. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. Again. I turned it to silent and kept driving. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove downtown to the Warehouse District, a formerly industrial area that had been converted into galleries, boutique shops, and overpriced coffee places. I parked on the street and walked 2 blocks to a converted warehouse with exposed brick and high ceilings. A hand-painted sign by the door read Tyler Cross, Urban Decay and Working Souls. I walked in. About 20 people milled around, holding plastic cups of cheap wine and examining photographs mounted on the white walls. I recognized most of them. Aunt Linda stood near the back, gesturing animatedly at a photo. Uncle Marcus was there, along with my cousins Beth and Raymond. A few of Tyler's friends from high school clustered near a table with cheese and crackers. The photographs were all black and white, grainy images of old buildings, rusty fences, and people in work clothes. I recognized some of the locations. The auto shop where Dad used to work before he hurt his back. The old textile mill on Route 9. The diner on 5th Street where Mom waitressed when I was in elementary school. Tyler called it urban decay. I called it poverty tourism. Aunt Linda spotted me, and her smile faltered. "Parker, I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, well, I had some free time. My birthday party got canceled." Her cheeks flushed. "Tyler told us this was important for his career. And my 30th birthday wasn't?" She looked away, studying a photograph of a chain-link fence. "You're older, more established. You understand how these things work." I moved past her, examining each photograph. Tyler had talent. I'd give him that. The compositions were good, the lighting dramatic. But every image felt calculated, designed to evoke emotion without actually containing any. These were places where real people struggled, and Tyler had turned that struggle into aesthetic decoration for gallery walls. I found the gallery owner near the entrance, a thin woman in her 50s wearing all black. A name tag on her lapel read Diane Forrester, owner. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm Parker, Tyler's older brother." She smiled, warm and professional. "Oh, how wonderful. You must be so proud." "Sure. Listen, I wanted to mention something. That camera equipment Tyler's using, the Nikon setup with the professional lenses, that was purchased on a credit card I co-signed for. About $5,000 worth. He's also carrying $6,200 in unpaid credit card debt across 3 other cards I either co-signed or added him to as authorized users." Diane's smile froze. "I see. Just thought you should know. In case you're considering any kind of investment or representation, financial responsibility matters in business relationships." I walked out before she could respond. The evening air was cooler now, the sun fully set. I sat in my car for a moment, then pulled out my phone. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages. I ignored all of them and called the dealership where I'd co-signed for Dad's Buick. A young woman answered. "Henderson Auto Sales. This is Crystal speaking." "Hi, Crystal. I'm a co-signer on a car loan. Account number 7839241. I need to know my options for reclaiming the vehicle." She put me on hold. Elevator music played for 3 minutes. Then a man's voice came on the line. "This is Dennis Martinez, manager. You're asking about repossession? I'm the primary on the loan. The other party has missed payments." This wasn't technically true yet, but it would be true in about 6 days when the auto pay I'd been covering stopped. "Let me pull up the account." Keys clicked. "Okay, I see here you're current on payments. If payments are missed, you have the right to reclaim the vehicle as primary loan holder. We'd need documentation." "What kind of documentation?" "Proof of missed payment, your identification, the loan agreement. If you're local, you could come in and we can walk through the process. I'll be there tomorrow morning." I hung up and sat in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That cold determination from earlier had solidified into something harder. I started the car and drove home to my empty apartment with the decorations still hanging, the catered food still warming in chafing dishes, the cake still in its box on the counter. I ate a piece of cake standing over the sink. It was good. Bernard's always made good cake. Then I called the catering company and told them to pick up the food and donate it to a shelter. I took down the decorations and threw them away. By midnight, the apartment looked like nothing had ever been planned. I set my alarm for 5 in the morning and went to bed. The next day, I woke before the alarm, showered, dressed in jeans and a jacket, and drove back to my parents' house. I arrived at 6:30 with a tow truck following behind me. The sun was just starting to rise, the sky pale gray. I knocked on the door. Dad answered in his bathrobe, hair sticking up, eyes bleary. "Parker? What are you doing here?" "I'm here for the car." "What?" "The Buick. I'm the primary on the loan. You've missed payments, so I'm exercising my right to reclaim the vehicle. We haven't missed anything. The payments are automatic." "Not anymore. I canceled the auto pay yesterday, which means in 5 days you'll officially miss a payment. I'm getting ahead of it." Mom appeared behind him, pulling a robe tight around her waist. "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. The loan agreement is clear." The tow truck driver, a stocky man with a gray beard, stepped forward. "I need access to the vehicle, sir." Dad's face went from sleepy to furious in an instant. "You're taking our car? How are we supposed to get to work?" I pulled a folded paper from my jacket pocket. "Bus schedule. Route 14 stops 2 blocks from here. Runs every 30 minutes. The tow truck driver was already hooking up the Buick. Mom started crying, loud dramatic sobs that probably woke the neighbors. Dad just stared at me like he'd never seen me before. "This is because we didn't come to your party," he said. "You're willing to ruin our lives over a birthday party?" "No," I said calmly. "This is because I've been funding your lives for 3 years, and you couldn't even pretend to care." The party was just the moment I realized how stupid I'd been. Tyler stumbled out, still in pajama pants and a ratty t-shirt. "What's going on?" "I'm taking the car," I said. "Dude, that's insane." "What's insane is that I'm 30 years old and I've been supporting my parents and my 26-year-old brother like I'm running a charity." "You want to know what's really insane? I almost kept doing it. I almost let you all keep using me, because I thought that's what family meant." The tow truck driver finished securing the Buick. All set. I handed him cash for the fee, then got in my car. As I pulled away, I could see all three of them standing in the driveway in their pajamas. Mom still crying. Dad's face purple with rage. Tyler looking confused and scared. My phone started ringing before I reached the end of their street. I let it ring. I went to work. My desk was covered with the usual Monday morning chaos. Reports to review, emails requiring responses, a meeting at 10 with a potential client. I tried to focus, but my phone kept buzzing in my pocket. By 9:30, I had 23 missed calls and 47 text messages. At 9:45, my boss Greg stopped by my desk. He was a decent guy, late 40s, always wore slightly wrinkled button-downs and drank too much coffee. "Parker, can I see you in my office?" My stomach dropped. I followed him down the hall to his corner office with the view of the parking lot. He closed the door and gestured for me to sit. "I got a phone call this morning," he said, settling into his chair. "Someone claiming to be a family member of yours. They said you've been embezzling from clients." The room tilted slightly. "What?" "They said you've been moving money into personal accounts, falsifying records. They were pretty insistent. Demanded we investigate immediately." He leaned back, studying my face. "I don't believe it. I've worked with you for 6 years and never seen anything even questionable. But HR requires me to follow protocol." "Who called?" "Wouldn't give a name. Just said they were family and had proof." I closed my eyes. Of course. They couldn't hurt me financially anymore, so they went after my job. "It's not true. I can show you every account, every transaction." "I know, but we still have to investigate. It's policy. I'm going to have to suspend you with pay while we sort this out. Shouldn't take more than a few days." I left Greg's office in a daze, packed my briefcase, ignored the curious looks from colleagues, and drove home. The investigation took 3 days. 3 days of sitting in my apartment, watching television I didn't care about, waiting for my phone to ring with news. 3 days of increasingly unhinged messages from my family. "Mom, you're killing us. We can't pay rent. We'll be homeless. Is this what you want? Dad, your mother's having chest pains from the stress. If she has a heart attack, it's on you. Tyler, I hope you're happy ruining everyone's lives, because you're a selfish prick. Aunt Linda, I don't know what happened to you, Parker. You used to be such a sweet boy." On the third day, a letter arrived by courier. Thick cream paper, embossed return address from a law firm downtown. I opened it standing in my kitchen, still in sweatpants and a t-shirt. The letter was a cease and desist, claiming I'd engaged in financial elder abuse by cutting off my parents without warning. It demanded I immediately reinstate all payments, plus an additional $10,000 for emotional distress. If I failed to comply within 14 days, they'd file suit. I called a lawyer, a woman named Patricia Hahn who specialized in family law. Her office was downtown, 10th floor of a glass building. She reviewed the letter while I sat across from her desk. "This is ridiculous," she said finally. "You have no legal obligation to support your parents. They're not elderly by any definition, they're not disabled, and you never signed any agreement promising continued support. This is harassment. Can they actually sue me? They can file anything. Doesn't mean they'll win, but it'll cost you money to defend." She leaned forward. "Here's what I suggest. Don't respond to the letter. If they actually file suit, we'll deal with it then. In the meantime, document everything. Every text, every call, every threat." I left her office feeling marginally better, but that evening, Tyler posted on social media. I didn't have accounts anymore. Had deleted them years ago. But my friend Marcus sent me a screenshot. Tyler had written a long post describing how his abusive older brother had suddenly cut off their aging parents without warning, leaving them unable to pay rent or buy groceries. He claimed I'd been controlling them financially for years, that I'd demanded gratitude and obedience in exchange for help. He made me sound like a monster. The post had 347 shares and hundreds of comments. People I'd gone to high school with, former neighbors, distant relatives I barely remembered. Most of the comments supported Tyler. Family is everything. How could he do that to his own parents? Money doesn't give you the right to control people. A few people defended me or asked for my side, but they were drowned out. Tyler posted a follow-up with photos of my parents looking sad and worried. Mom had clearly been crying for the camera. Dad stared at the lens with hollow eyes. That evening, my girlfriend Jenny called. We'd been dating for 8 months. Nothing too serious yet, but steady. She was a kindergarten teacher, kind and patient, with a laugh that made me feel like things might be okay. "Hey," she said, her voice tight. "My parents saw Tyler's post. They're friends with your Aunt Linda on Facebook. It's not true. None of it. I know. I think I know. But they're really upset. They think you're dangerous or unstable or something. They're saying I should end things." My chest tightened. "What do you think?" A long pause. "I think this is a lot of drama, Parker. I teach 5-year-olds. I go home exhausted every day. I don't have the energy for family warfare and lawyers and social media posts. So you're breaking up with me. I need space to think. This is all just too much." She hung up before I could respond. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, feeling the walls of my life closing in. Job suspended. Family at war. Now girlfriend gone. The next day, I got a call from my bank. A woman with a professional voice said someone had attempted to access my accounts using my social security number. They'd blocked the attempt, flagged the account, but I should come in immediately to verify my identity and change my security information. "Can you tell me where the attempt came from?" I asked. "An IP address registered to a residence in Clearwater Heights, my parents' neighborhood, my parents' house. One of them, or maybe all of them together, had tried to hack into my bank accounts." I drove to the bank, spent 2 hours sorting out new passwords and security questions, filed a police report that I knew would go nowhere. That evening, my landlord called. "Parker, I got a complaint from building management. Someone reported you're subletting the apartment illegally and have unauthorized occupants." "That's not true. I live here alone." "I believe you, but they're requiring an inspection. Tomorrow at noon." "I'm sorry. It's policy." I hung up and sat at my kitchen table, my head in my hands. They were attacking everything. My job, my reputation, my relationship, my housing, my bank accounts. It was systematic, coordinated, vicious. They were trying to destroy me completely. The inspection the next day was humiliating. A man from building management walked through my apartment with a clipboard, opening closets, checking rooms, photographing everything. He found nothing wrong because there was nothing wrong. I lived alone. I wasn't subletting. But the fact that it happened at all felt like a violation. On Friday, the investigation at work concluded. Greg called me at home. "You're clear. Every account checked out perfectly. No discrepancies, no irregularities. You can come back Monday." "Thank you, Parker." For what it's worth, whoever called was obviously lying. "I'm sorry you had to go through this." I returned to work on Monday, but the damage was done. 3 colleagues who I'd considered friends avoided me. One woman, Stephanie from accounting, whispered to someone else as I walked past. I caught the words "steals from family." The rumor had spread. Even though I'd been cleared, even though the investigation found nothing, the accusation itself had tainted me. People looked at me differently. Conversations stopped when I approached the break room. I was professional poison. That night, I opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion and drank half of it alone in my apartment. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, too tired to care anymore. "Parker." My cousin Rachel's voice. "I need to talk to you." Rachel was 2 years younger than me, had always been the family peacemaker. "What do you want?" "I just posted on Facebook supporting your parents and Tyler. I wanted to tell you before you saw it." "Of course you did. They're family, Parker. Whatever happened between you, you can't just abandon them." "Did they tell you they skipped my birthday party to go to Tyler's art show? Did they mention I've been sending them $30,000 a year for 3 years? Did they explain that they tried to access my bank accounts and reported me for embezzlement at work?" Silence. Then, quietly, "They said you were exaggerating." "I'm not. I don't know who to believe anymore. But they're family. That has to count for something." She hung up. 20 minutes later, I checked Facebook through Marcus's account. Rachel's post was up, a long defense of my parents, claiming I'd always thought I was better than everyone. that I used money to control people, that my parents were victims of my need for power. The post had 147 likes and dozens of comments. Extended family members I hadn't seen in years, old friends from childhood, neighbors from my parents' street, all agreeing that I was the villain, all taking their side. I was being excommunicated from every corner of my life. My family network, gone. My professional reputation, damaged. My social standing, destroyed. They'd created a narrative where I was the monster, and people believed it because it was easier than asking questions. I poured another glass of wine and opened my laptop. Started documenting everything. Every text message, every call, every post, every accusation. If this was going to be a war, I needed ammunition. Jenny's official breakup text came on Wednesday. Short and clinical. I can't handle the drama. My parents are really upset. I think we should end things. I'm sorry. No phone call, no conversation, just a text, and then silence. I stared at it for 5 minutes before deleting her contact information. 8 months gone in a single message. Thursday morning, my mom showed up at my workplace. I was in a meeting when the receptionist knocked on the conference room door, looking uncomfortable. "Parker, there's someone here to see you. Your mother." I excused myself and found her in the lobby, mascara running down her face, clutching a tissue. The receptionist, young and clearly distressed, hovered nearby. Other employees watched from the hallway. "Parker, please." Mom sobbed loud enough for everyone to hear. "I don't understand what I did wrong. You're my son. How can you do this to me?" "Mom, you need to leave. We're going to lose our home. We have nowhere to go. Your father can't work because of his back. We'll be on the street. Is that what you want? Your parents homeless?" Security arrived. 2 men in uniforms who looked deeply uncomfortable. One of them, an older guy named Frank, who always said hello when I arrived in the morning, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Ma'am, you need to leave the building," he said gently. Mom turned to him, crying harder. "He's my son. He abandoned us. We raised him, gave him everything, and now he won't even help us." Frank and his partner escorted her out. It took 10 minutes of her wailing and protesting. The entire office watched. When I returned to the conference room, the meeting had dissolved. My colleagues looked at me with a mixture of pity and discomfort. After work, Greg pulled me aside again. "Look, Parker, I believe you. I really do. But this is affecting the team. Maybe take some time off? Just until things settle down? Are you firing me?" "No. God, no. Just suggesting some space. Voluntary leave. I need this job, Greg. Now more than ever." He sighed. "Okay. But if anything else happens, we'll have to revisit this conversation." I drove home feeling like I was drowning. Every aspect of my life was contaminated. The next morning, an official-looking envelope arrived in my mail. I opened it standing in my doorway. Another letter from my parents' attorney. But this one was worse. They'd filed an actual lawsuit, claiming I'd promised lifelong financial support, and they'd relied on that promise to their detriment. They were suing for $75,000 plus legal fees. I called Patricia Hahn. She read the complaint over the phone while I paced my apartment. "This is legally weak," she said. "But defending it will cost you. Discovery, depositions, court appearances. We're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 in legal fees minimum. Probably more if it goes to trial. They're going to bankrupt me. That might be the point. They can't win, but they can make it expensive and painful." I asked her to file a response, then sat down at my kitchen table with my head in my hands. $10,000 to $15,000 I didn't have. My savings were decent but not infinite. Between lawyer fees and the possibility of losing my job, I could see a path to financial ruin. That afternoon, Tyler took it further. He contacted my clients. I found out when Mrs. Morrison, a sweet elderly woman whose retirement account I managed, called me sounding worried. "Parker, dear, I got a strange phone call today. A young man claiming to be your brother. He said you were going through personal issues and might not be reliable right now. He suggested I consider moving my accounts elsewhere." My vision went red at the edges. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm handling a family situation, but it has absolutely no impact on my professional work. I would never let personal matters affect my clients." "Of course, dear. I didn't believe him. I've worked with you for 4 years and you've always been wonderful. But he called 3 times today. It felt like harassment. I'm so sorry. I'll make sure it stops. I hung up and immediately called Tyler. He answered on the third ring, sounding smug. Hey brother, if you contact my clients again, I'll file a restraining order and report you for harassment. I'm just warning people that you're unstable. Public service, really. You're trying to destroy my career. You destroyed our family first. This is just consequences. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Checked my client list. Tyler had called 6 of them. 6 people I'd built relationships with over years, and he'd tried to poison every single one. I reported it to Greg, who escalated it to the legal department. They sent Tyler a cease and desist letter, but the damage was done. 2 clients moved their accounts. Not because they believed Tyler, but because they didn't want to be involved in drama. That weekend, I came home to find my apartment door slightly open. I pushed it wider, heart racing, and stepped inside. Everything looked mostly normal, but my laptop was gone from the kitchen table. I checked my bedroom. Files from my desk drawer were scattered on the floor. My filing cabinet was open. Folders missing. I called the police. 2 officers arrived, took a report, dusted for prints. They found nothing useful. No forced entry, no witnesses, no security camera footage from the hallway. The officer writing the report asked if I had any enemies. My family, I said. He looked up from his notepad. Your family broke into your apartment? I think so. Specifically, my brother. Can you prove it? No. He closed his notepad. Without evidence, there's not much we can do. File an insurance claim for the laptop. Change your locks. Install a security camera. They left. I sat on my couch, looking at the scattered files. The empty space where my laptop had been. The laptop had backups. I'd recover the data. But the physical files were gone. Years of financial records proving I'd been supporting my family. Receipts, bank statements with my handwritten notes, emails I'd printed and filed away. Without those records, defending myself in the lawsuit became exponentially harder. I had digital bank statements, but the detailed documentation, the notes about what each payment covered, all of that was gone. My parents' lawyer could claim anything, and I'd have to reconstruct my defense from scratch. That night, I barely slept. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak and groan of the building, wondering if Tyler would come back, wondering what else they'd take from me. Monday morning, another blow. My parents' attorney filed an emergency motion claiming I was hiding assets and attempting to evade my obligations. The motion requested immediate access to all my financial records and asked the court to freeze my accounts pending the outcome of the lawsuit. Patricia called me at work. This is aggressive. Unusually aggressive. They're trying to financially paralyze you. Can they do that? A judge could grant a temporary freeze if they believe there's risk of asset dissipation. We'll fight it, but you need to be prepared for the possibility. I hung up and sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. They were closing in from every direction. Job threatened. Reputation ruined. Relationship ended. Money being drained by legal fees. Assets potentially frozen. Home violated. I was losing. They were winning. And I couldn't see a way out. That night, going through what remained of my files, I found something. A folder I'd forgotten about, stuck in the back of a drawer they'd apparently missed. Inside was paperwork from my grandfather's estate, dated 12 years ago when I was 18. My grandfather had died during my freshman year of college. I'd been too buried in midterms to pay attention to the legal details. Dad handled everything. But now, looking at the documents, I saw something that made my heart stop. The deed to my parents' house. My grandfather's house originally, paid off years before his death. The deed listed 2 names as joint owners, my father and me. My grandfather had left the house to both of us, 50-50. I'd completely forgotten. Dad always controlled everything related to the house, paid the property taxes, handled maintenance. I'd assumed it was his alone, but legally, I owned half. I sat at my kitchen table, the deed spread out in front of me, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. I took the deed to Patricia Hahn's office first thing Tuesday morning. She read through it twice, then pulled up the county property records on her computer. This is legitimate, she said. You're listed as 50% owner. Has been for 12 years. What can I do with this? She leaned back in her chair, thinking. As co-owner, you have certain rights. You could force a sale of the property. It's called a partition action. Your parents would have 30 days to buy out your share at fair market value, or the house goes on the market. What's fair market value? She pulled up a real estate website, typed in the address. Comparable properties in the area ranged from $360,000 to $410,000. Probably somewhere around $380,000. Half of that is $190,000. $190,000. More than I'd sent them over the past 3 years. More than enough to cover my legal fees with plenty left over. Enough to rebuild my life if they succeeded in destroying it. Do it, I said. Patricia drafted the legal notice. A real estate attorney, she recommended, a man named Donald Kern, handled the partition paperwork. Within a week, my parents received official notice. They had 30 days to buy out my half of the house for $190,000, or the property would be sold. The phone calls that followed were apocalyptic. Mom left voicemails that started with begging and ended with screaming. Dad's messages were pure rage. Tyler posted another social media rant, claiming I was stealing their home, but I didn't respond to any of it. Let the lawyers handle everything. Then Patricia called with news. The lawsuit against you has been withdrawn. What? Their attorney filed a dismissal this morning. No explanation, but I'm guessing they realize they need to focus on keeping the house. One problem solved. But that same day, Donald Kern called with a complication. I've been going through the title history. Your parents took out a home equity line of credit 5 years ago for $60,000. But there's only one signature on the loan paperwork. Your father's. As co-owner, you should have been required to sign as well. What does that mean? It means they took out a loan against property they didn't fully own. That's potentially fraud. It gives you significant leverage. Patricia and Donald worked together, crafting a response to my parents' attorney. The message was simple. We discovered the fraudulent Hellock. We could report them for fraud, which could result in criminal charges. Or they could agree to the partition action quietly, without further harassment. 3 days later, their attorney responded. They'd agree to vacate the house and proceed with the sale. In exchange, we wouldn't pursue fraud charges. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt hollow. This was my family. The people who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with homework. And now we were negotiating property settlements through lawyers like we were strangers. But victory was short-lived. Tyler escalated again. I was leaving work on Thursday when I saw him leaning against my car in the parking garage. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red-rimmed and wild. We need to talk, he said. Get away from my car. You're destroying them, Parker. Mom cries all day. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. They're losing their home because you're throwing a tantrum over a birthday party. Move. No. He stepped closer, his fists clenched. You need to stop this. Sign the house over. Drop the partition thing. Let them keep their home. I own half that house. Legally. Grandpa left it to me. Grandpa left it to Dad. You manipulated your way onto the deed. That's a lie and you know it. Tyler's face contorted with rage. You've always thought you were better than us. Always looked down on me and Mom and Dad because you have money. Well, money doesn't make you a good person. It just makes you a rich asshole. I'm leaving now. Get out of my way. He grabbed my arm. I'm not done. I pulled away. Don't touch me. Or what? You'll sue me too? Take my photography equipment? Ruin my life like you're ruining theirs? Building security appeared, alerted by someone who'd seen the confrontation. 2 guards approached, hands on their radios. Tyler backed off, holding his hands up. This isn't over, he said. You can't just erase us. He left. I got in my car, hands shaking, and drove home. That night, I filed for a restraining order. Patricia helped me compile evidence. The confrontation at work, the stolen laptop, the harassing messages, the physical intimidation in the parking garage. The restraining order was granted within 48 hours. Tyler was required to stay at least 100 yards away from me, my home, and my workplace. He violated it 3 days later. I was walking to my car after work when he appeared from behind a concrete pillar. No warning, just suddenly there. His face twisted with fury. "You got a restraining order? Against your own brother?" I backed away, reaching for my phone. "You need to leave. You're violating the order." "I don't care. Someone needs to make you understand what you're doing." He moved toward me. I started recording on my phone, holding it up so the camera caught his face. "Tyler, leave now. This is being recorded. Record whatever you want." He was 5 feet away now. "You think you're untouchable because you have lawyers and money. You think you can just destroy people's lives without consequences. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead." He lunged forward, swinging his fist at my face. I dodged, barely. His fist grazed my shoulder. He stumbled, off balance from the missed swing, and fell hard onto the concrete. He yelped in pain, grabbing his wrist. Building security was there within seconds, alerted by someone in the garage. The police arrived 8 minutes later. Tyler was still on the ground, cradling his wrist and cursing. The security footage captured everything. Tyler approaching me backing away, him swinging, him falling. The officers arrested him for violating the restraining order and assault. As they led him away in handcuffs, he screamed at me, "This is your fault. All of it. You did this." I gave my statement to the police, handed over my phone with the video I'd recorded, and drove home. That night, I sat in my apartment, doors locked, shades drawn, feeling like I'd aged 10 years in the past month. Patricia called the next morning. "Tyler's being charged. Violating a restraining order plus assault. He'll likely take a plea deal, probably probation and anger management." "Good. But Parker, there's another issue." I was going through the partition paperwork, and Donald found something. "Tyler listed your parents' house as his legal residence on several official documents, including a recent business license application for his photography business. So if he's claiming legal residence at the property, he might have tenant rights. That could delay the partition by months while we go through formal eviction procedures." His stomach sank. "Are you serious?" "I'm checking the details now, but it's possible he could drag this out significantly." For 2 days, I barely functioned. Went to work, stared at spreadsheets. Went home, stared at walls. Everything I'd worked toward potentially derailed again because Tyler had listed their address on some paperwork. Then Patricia called with better news. Donald found Tyler's business license application. He listed a different address, an apartment on the east side. He claimed residence there for business purposes but was actually living at your parents' house. That's fraud on the application. What does that mean for us? It means he has no legal tenant rights at the property. He committed fraud to obtain the business license, which we've submitted to the court. The judge ruled Tyler has no standing to delay the sale. The partition can proceed as planned. Relief washed over me so intensely I had to sit down. So it's done? They have to sell? They have to sell. That night, unable to sleep, I went through the boxes of stuff I'd saved from my grandfather's house after he died. Most of it was junk, old photos and knickknacks I'd never looked at. But at the bottom of one box, I found an envelope with my name on it, in my grandfather's handwriting. Inside was a letter, dated a month before his death. "Dear Parker," it read in his shaky script, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. I wanted you to know why I left you half the house. Your father is my son, and I love him, but he's never been good with money or responsibility. You, though, even at 18, I can see you're different. You work hard. You think ahead. You don't waste what you have. I'm leaving you half the house because I trust you to do the right thing with it. I know your dad will be upset, but this isn't about choosing favorites. It's about making sure at least one person in the family has security. Take care of yourself, Parker. You have something special in you. Don't let anyone take that away. Love, Grandpa." I sat on my living room floor, holding the letter, crying for the first time since all of this started. My grandfather had seen me, really seen me, and he'd tried to protect me, even knowing it would cause problems. The next day, I took the letter to Patricia. She read it and looked up with sad eyes. "Your mother's been telling people your grandfather only meant to leave the house to your father, that you manipulated the deed somehow." I was 18. I didn't even know about it until after he died and Dad showed me the paperwork. She's been rewriting history, making you the villain in every version of the story. I thought about that. 12 years of subtle messages, small comments, little adjustments to the narrative, making me feel guilty for having what my grandfather wanted me to have, making me feel obligated to support them, to make up for being given something I didn't earn. She's been doing this my whole life, I said quietly, making me feel like I owe them something. Patricia nodded. Some families operate on guilt. It's a form of control. I left her office feeling like I'd woken up from a long sleep. Everything made sense now. The years of supporting them, the constant requests for help, the way they'd turned my success into a weapon against me. It had all been building toward this. The house sold 2 weeks later for $405,000. After paying off the illegal home equity line, clearing some other small debts, and covering legal fees, my share came to $168,000. My parents got slightly less after their legal fees, and the debts were settled. They moved into a small apartment 40 miles away in a cheaper neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, first floor, no yard. I heard about it through Aunt Linda, who'd started speaking to me again, tentatively. Tyler took a plea deal. 2 years probation, 120 hours of community service, mandatory anger management counseling. He moved in with our parents, since he couldn't afford his own place. And me? I took 2 weeks off work and drove to Montana, rented a cabin in the mountains, hiked every day, sat by lakes and watched the sun set, thought about everything that had happened, cried some, slept a lot. When I returned, everything felt different, lighter, somehow, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't know was there until it was gone. Work was still awkward. Greg remained supportive, but some colleagues never quite looked at me the same way. Stephanie from accounting still whispered when I walked past. But my clients stayed, even the ones Tyler had contacted. Mrs. Morrison told me she'd told him off when he called a third time. Said she didn't appreciate being harassed, and if he contacted her again, she'd report him. 3 months after the house sold, I ran into Aunt Linda at the grocery store. She was in the produce section, squeezing avocados. She saw me and froze, like she'd been caught doing something wrong. "Parker," she said. "Linda." We stood there for a moment, surrounded by bins of vegetables and other shoppers pushing carts. She looked older than I remembered, tired. "How are you?" she asked finally. "I'm fine." "Good. That's good." She put the avocado in her cart. "Your mother called me last week. Asked if I could lend her some money." I waited. I said no. First time I've ever said no to her. Linda looked at me. Really looked at me. "Tyler's living with them now. None of them are doing well. Your mom keeps talking about how you ruined everything. And what do you think?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I think we all enabled them. Your mom especially. She's always been good at making people feel guilty, making us think we owed her something. I've given her money over the years. Small amounts, but it adds up. And she never paid any of it back. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm trying to say I understand now why you did what you did. Took me a while, but I get it." She adjusted her purse on her shoulder. "Tyler told me once that you were jealous of him, that you couldn't stand that he was artistic and you were just a number cruncher. I believed him. But he's been living with them for 3 months now, and I've seen a different side of things." "What side?" "He doesn't work. Your mom waits on him hand and foot. Your dad complains constantly but does nothing to change it. They're all miserable, but they're choosing to be miserable together." She paused. "You were smart to get out." She didn't apologize directly. I didn't expect her to. But as she pushed her cart away, she turned back and said, "Take care of yourself, Parker." It wasn't much, but it was something. I started therapy around that time. Found a counselor named Dr. Helen Briggs who specialized in family dynamics and trauma. Her office was in a converted house near downtown. Comfortable furniture and soft lighting. "What brings you here?" she asked in our first session. "My family tried to destroy my life because I stopped giving them money." She raised an eyebrow. "That's quite an opening." I told her everything. The birthday text, the party, canceling the payments, the car, the lawsuit, Tyler's attack, the house. She listened without interrupting. occasionally making notes. When I finished, she said, "How do you feel about all of it?" Guilty, relieved, angry, sad, sometimes all at once. That's normal. You're grieving. Grieving? You lost your family. Even a toxic family is still a family. The loss is real, and grief is the appropriate response. Over the following months, I learned a lot in those sessions. About boundaries and enmeshment. About how families can create roles for people and get angry when those people try to step out of their assigned parts. I was the responsible one, the provider, the one who was supposed to sacrifice. Tyler was the creative one, the sensitive one, the one who needed protection. My parents were the victims, always in need, always struggling. When I tried to change my role, the entire system fell apart. That's why they reacted so violently. I wasn't just refusing to pay rent. I was threatening the entire structure of how the family functioned. You became the bad guy the moment you said no, Dr. Briggs explained. Because in their narrative, you don't get to say no. 6 months after the house sold, I got a message on LinkedIn. Marcus Cross, a cousin I hadn't thought about in years. We'd played together as kids but lost touch when his family moved to Oregon. "Hey Parker," the message read. "I heard about what happened with your parents and Tyler. I wanted to reach out. I went through something similar with my mom and stepdad 5 years ago. Cut them off completely. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. If you want to talk about it, I'm around. No pressure." I messaged him back. We set up a video call for the weekend. He looked older than I remembered, beard flecked with gray, but his eyes were kind. "How did you know?" I asked. "Aunt Linda told my mom, who told me. The family gossip chain." He smiled wryly. "They painted you as the villain, of course. But I've been the villain in my own family's story for years. So I recognized the pattern." We talked for 2 hours. He told me his story. His mother had drained his bank account, stolen his identity to open credit cards, and when he confronted her, she'd told everyone he was mentally ill and making up stories. He'd had to get a restraining order, change his name legally, move across the country. "Does it get easier?" I asked. "Yes and no. You stop feeling guilty eventually, but you never stop missing the idea of what they could have been." He leaned forward, his face serious on the screen. "Here's what I learned. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. And you can't set yourself on fire to keep them warm. My mom keeps telling people I abandoned them. Of course she does. Because admitting they drove you away would require self-reflection. And people like them don't do self-reflection. They do blame." Before we hung up, Marcus said, "There's a support group, people who've had to cut off toxic families. It's online, meets twice a month. I can send you the link if you're interested." I joined the next meeting. 12 people from around the country, all with similar stories. Parents who stole from them, siblings who sabotaged their careers, families who couldn't accept boundaries. We shared experiences, offered advice, reminded each other we weren't crazy or cruel. One woman, Lisa from Texas, said something that stuck with me. "I spent 30 years trying to be good enough for my family. I finally realized I was already good enough. They were the ones who weren't good enough for me." I started dating again, tentatively. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and movies. I was upfront about my situation. Some people were scared off by the drama. Others were understanding. 7 months after everything, I met someone named Elliot at a work conference in Chicago. He was a financial planner from Seattle, funny and kind, with an easy smile. We talked for hours at the hotel bar, comparing notes on difficult clients and bad investment strategies. "Want to have dinner tomorrow?" he asked. "I should probably tell you something first." I explained the situation with my family, keeping it brief. "So there's some baggage." He considered this. "We've all got baggage. Question is, are you dealing with it or letting it define you?" "I'm dealing with it." "Then dinner sounds great." We stayed in touch after the conference. Video calls, long text conversations, a visit to Seattle where he showed me around the city. It was slow and careful, and I liked that. No rushing, no pressure. Just 2 people figuring out if they fit. 9 months after the house sold, I got an email. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." The sender was Beth, my cousin, Rachel's sister. The email was short. I believed them when they said you were cruel. I posted things on Facebook supporting them. I'm sorry. Rachel told me about the restraining order, about Tyler attacking you, about the fraud with the house. I didn't know. I should have asked your side before judging. I'm really sorry. I wrote back. Thank you for this. It means more than you know. We didn't become close, but we were civil. It was something. But my parents, Tyler, most of my extended family, radio silence. I heard through Aunt Linda that they were struggling financially, that my mom blamed everything on me, that Tyler still told anyone who'd listen that I'd stolen their home. Part of me wanted them to understand, wanted them to see what they'd done, how they'd hurt me, how their behavior had pushed me away. But Dr. Briggs reminded me that I couldn't control their narrative. You know the truth, she said. That has to be enough. My 30th birthday had been a disaster, a humiliation that launched a war. But as my 31st birthday approached, I realized something. That text message had been a gift. A horrible, painful gift, but a gift nonetheless. It had shown me exactly who they were, removed all ambiguity, all the but their family excuses. It had given me the clarity to finally, after 30 years, choose myself. My 31st birthday fell on a Wednesday. I took the day off work, something I never did. Slept in, made breakfast, went for a run along the river trail. The weather was perfect, cool and clear, the kind of fall day that makes you grateful to be alive. I'd moved again, into a new apartment I bought with part of the money from the house sale. 1 bedroom, 9th floor, with a balcony overlooking the city. It was smaller than my last place, only 500 square feet, but it was entirely mine. No co-signers, no help from anyone, just my name on the deed. Around 3 in the afternoon, I started setting up for a small gathering. Nothing elaborate this time. No caterer, no decorations beyond some balloons Elliot had insisted on bringing from Seattle. He'd flown in 2 days earlier, taken time off work to be here. You sure you want to do this? He asked, watching me arrange chairs. After last year, that's exactly why I want to do this. Last year they took my birthday from me. I'm taking it back. The guest list was small. Elliot, obviously. Marcus from Oregon, who flew in that morning. 3 people from my support group who lived locally. Lisa, who'd moved from Texas. James, who'd cut off his parents after they tried to get custody of his kids. And Patricia, who'd been disowned for being gay. Dr. Briggs had encouraged me to invite people who actually cared about me. So I also asked Greg from work and his wife, Stephanie, who'd surprisingly become friendlier after the full story came out, and Mrs. Morrison, who'd been horrified when she learned what my family had done. 9 people total, plus my maid 10. They arrived around 6. Marcus brought wine. Lisa made brownies. James showed up with a board game he swore was hilarious. Mrs. Morrison, sweet woman that she was, brought a fruitcake that nobody would eat but everyone would appreciate. We sat around my living room, talking and laughing. No one asked about my family. No one brought up the lawsuit or the drama. We just existed together, telling stories and enjoying each other's company. Around 7:30, Greg raised his glass. A toast. To Parker, who had the courage to choose himself. Everyone raised their glasses. I felt my throat tighten with unexpected emotion. Thank you, I managed. All of you. Last year on my birthday, I thought my life was falling apart. Turns out it was just making room for better people. Elliot squeezed my hand. Marcus smiled from across the room. Mrs. Morrison dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. We ate pizza and brownies. Played James's board game, which was indeed hilarious. Told terrible jokes and worse puns. Around 9, Lisa asked if I wanted to talk about it. About what? Last year. Your family. All of it. I thought about it. I used to think family meant blood. People you're connected to whether you like it or not. People you have to forgive no matter what they do because that's what family does. I looked around the room at these people who'd chosen to be here, but I was wrong. Family is the people who show up. The people who care about you not because they have to, but because they want to. Damn right, Marcus said. I spent 30 years trying to be good enough for people who would never think I was good enough. I gave them money, time, energy, pieces of myself. And they took it all and still wanted more. The birthday text last year? That was my mom telling me I didn't matter. And you know what? She was right. Everyone looked shocked. Elliot frowned. Parker, no, listen. I didn't matter to them. I never did. I was a resource, not a son. A bank account, not a brother. Once I understood that, once I really accepted it, everything got easier. I stopped trying to make them love me and started focusing on people who already did. Patricia from my support group nodded. That's the hardest thing to accept. That sometimes the people who are supposed to love you just don't. Not in any healthy way. My therapist says I'm grieving, I continued. And she's right. I'm grieving the family I thought I had, the parents I wanted, the relationship with my brother that never existed. But I'm not grieving who they actually are. I'm grieving the illusion. The room was quiet for a moment. Then James said, "So what now? What happens next?" Next? I keep living. I keep building this life I'm creating. I keep showing up for the people who show up for me. I looked at Elliot. I keep making space for good things. We cut the cake around 10, a simple chocolate cake from the grocery store bakery, nothing fancy. No happy 31st Parker and icing, just a plain cake with vanilla frosting. It was perfect. As everyone was leaving, hugging me goodbye and promising to do this again soon, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. Unknown number, I opened the text. "Happy birthday, son. We need to talk. Things have been hard without your help. Maybe we can work something out. Family should forgive. Call me. Dad." I stared at the message for a long moment. Elliot came up beside me. "You okay?" I showed him the text. He read it and looked at me, waiting. A year ago, I would have felt guilty. Would have wondered if I'd been too harsh, too unforgiving. Would have considered calling back, working something out, giving them another chance. Now, I felt nothing but tired resignation. "They haven't changed," I said. "Probably not. They won't change." "Probably not," he repeated gently. I blocked the number, deleted the message, set my phone down and looked around my apartment. At the remnants of the party, the half-eaten pizza and melted candles, the balloons still tied to my chairs. Evidence of celebration. Proof that people had been here, had cared enough to show up. "You know what I wished for when I blew out the candles?" I asked Elliot. "What?" "Peace. Not reconciliation. Not them to understand or apologize. Just peace. For me." He smiled. "That's a good wish." The next morning, I woke up early and went for another run. The city was quiet, just starting to wake up. As I ran, I thought about everything that had happened over the past year. The betrayal, the war, the loss, but also the growth, the clarity, the freedom. My mother's text had been cruel. "No one's coming to your party. Grow up." She'd meant it as a dismissal, a way to belittle me. But in a way, she'd been right about the growing up part. I had grown up. I'd learned that being an adult sometimes means walking away from people who hurt you, even if they're family, especially if they're family. I'd learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. That saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who knows their worth. That love without respect isn't love at all. It's manipulation. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is save yourself. 10 people had come to my birthday party. 10 people who chose to be there, who wanted to celebrate with me. That was more than enough. That was everything. The sun was fully up by the time I got back to my apartment. Elliot was making coffee, still in pajama pants and one of my t-shirts. He handed me a mug and kissed my forehead. "Good run. Great run. What do you want to do today?" I thought about it. No obligations, no one else's crisis to manage, no money to send or problems to solve. Just a day stretching ahead of me, full of possibilities. "Whatever we want," I said. And that, I realized, was the greatest gift I'd given myself. Freedom. The freedom to choose my own family, build my own life, and finally, after 31 years, just be myself without apology or explanation. My phone rang once more that morning. Another unknown number. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Deleted the voicemail without listening. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. I never heard from my parents or Tyler directly again. Through the grapevine, I learned they continued to struggle. Mom still told anyone who would listen that I'd abandoned them. Tyler worked odd jobs, still living in their apartment. Dad's health declined, though I didn't know details and didn't ask. Part of me felt guilty about that. The part that remembered being a kid, remembered Dad teaching me to ride a bike, and Mom reading me bedtime stories. But Dr. Briggs helped me understand that those people, the ones from my childhood memories, either never really existed or had changed so much they might as well be different people entirely. "You're not abandoning the parents who raised you," she said in one session. "You're protecting yourself from the people they became." 2 years after that fateful 30th birthday, Elliot and I moved in together. A bigger place, 2 bedrooms in case people visited. Marcus came out for the housewarming party, along with my support group friends and some of Elliot's friends from Seattle who'd relocated. We built a life together, quiet and stable and good. The kind of life I'd always wanted but never thought I deserved. Some people might say I should have tried harder, forgiven more, given them more chances. Those people have never had to choose between their family and their sanity. They've never had to accept that the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally sometimes love you only as long as you're useful. I'm okay with their judgment. I'm okay with being the villain in my family's story, if it means being the hero in my own. My 32nd birthday was even quieter than my 31st. Just Elliot and me. Dinner at our favorite restaurant. A weekend trip to the coast. Simple. Perfect. Mine. No text messages from my mom. No surprise visits. No drama. Just peace. And every year after, that peace became more familiar, more comfortable. The guilt faded. The grief lessened. The anger transformed into something quieter, acceptance maybe, or just indifference. I built a good life. Not a perfect life, but a good one. Filled with people who actually wanted me there, who valued me for more than my bank account, who showed up not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And sometimes, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I thought about that text message. "No one's coming to your party. Grow up." The words that had destroyed everything and, in destroying it, had set me free. "Thank you, Mom," I thought. "You gave me the greatest gift without meaning to. You showed me exactly who you were, and you gave me permission to finally, after 30 years, walk away." I never sent that message, never reached out, never gave them the satisfaction of knowing they'd been right about one thing. I did grow up, just not in the way they meant. Growing up meant learning that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, respect, and showing up when it matters. Growing up meant understanding that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is say no. Growing up meant choosing peace over obligation, boundaries over guilt, yourself over people who only wanted to use you. My mother told me to grow up, and I did, just not for her, for me. And that made all the difference. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who didn't respect you? How did you handle the guilt that came with choosing yourself? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. Your support means everything. Share this with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to walk away from toxic people, even if they're family. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is save yourself. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to choose peace in your own life. Whatever that looks like for you, take care of yourself. You deserve it.